joining the Oracle Life. Hey guys, welcome back to Oracle Life for another episode. Today is going to be a long one. It's going to be well over 1 hour. So get a comfortable seat, get some snacks, a drink, and get ready for some jiu-jitsu. For those following, I haven't posted any other ancillary training, such as my tire training, just yet. Lately, I did have one, but I ended up, for some reason, losing the recording, so I didn't have that to post. But I do plan to get back to doing the tire sometime, perhaps this weekend. It's the Labor Day long weekend here in Toronto. So here, Zenon and I just fighting for grips and fighting for control. And for those that don't know, it's a very subtle art that, based on small little details, one person comes up on top and the other person doesn't. Sometimes it's just based on who wants it more. But yeah. It's almost kind of hard to spot unless you're really slowing it down frame by frame. Yeah, here I'm basically helplessly trying to get a single leg. Zenon tries to go for my back, but I do a sort of grand B roll and I shrug him off. Right there, something happened. I tweaked my neck a little bit. Re-aggravated an older injury I had that all during quarantine. I had gone for physio for it, and I had gotten rid of it, but just there something happened at the beginning. I didn't tell Zenon because I didn't want to sort of make up excuses, but it sort of bothered me a bit for the rest of this session. So again, you see here, we're just fighting for grips. Because we're sitting down or in combat position, your takedowns and throws are minimized to prevent injury. For those that don't know, that's intentional. It limits the amount of actions you can take, which is a good thing if you're looking for longevity in this sport. Zenon sort of drops in for a single leg, kind of. I'm not sure if that's really what he wanted, but you can see I have a grip on his left wrist there to prevent that, but also to allow me to pull it to get up and prevent his prevent his straight ankle lock. So you see Zenon's left shin is in my sternum as a guard. My job was to get past it, but he keeps replacing his knees on the inside, doing a great job, basically tying up my legs at this point. But like everything else in life, when you focus on one side, you tend to open up other areas, and then it did open up the top, so I went in for a guillotine. Sorry, I'm screwing up the name again. North-south choke. So Zenon is really good at getting out of side control. He uses really effectively. He uses arms in a proper direction to transfer his force right through my body and pretty much shrug me off from a north-south position. So I'm being quite mindful of that. Even trying to get in that Americana there is very difficult. Then his arms have gotten a lot stronger. You can see there I'm trying to get my wrist just over his elbow, his left elbow, and he is clearly keeping his elbows in tight, like they say, right? Keep your friends close, your enemies closer, and your elbows even closer. So that's what he's doing right there. He's protecting his elbows. They are a weak point. If someone basically manages to control your elbows, they can really control the rest of your arm. Sorry, I was just taking a picture and I ended up missing what exactly. I think I got a Kimura on Zen in there. One of the things that's been working for me lately is smashing his upper arm down. It's kind of like what I'm calling like a sandwich. So instead of just having a top game where you sort of go for the Kimura and hope for the best, and sometimes it's a crapshoot based on the strength of your opponent. But with Zen and his crazy strength in his arms lately, I've found where I've smashed his opposite arm down so that it's sandwiched. It takes a lot of leverage away from him, and I'm able to focus on the Kimura without any sort of resistance. Zen's taking my back, but he doesn't quite grab it, and I grab him and pretty much just toss him on his back, which I don't do too often, but yeah, it's perfectly legit and something good to do if the opportunity presents itself. I'm just catching my breath. I think Zen as well is just using this opportunity from the last sprawl that we had to just catch our breath again. See, one of the things Zen is trying to do from the ground position here is getting his hips out from under me. So typically what he has been doing is he's been posting off of my knees or my thighs to sort of shrimp out and get his knees above my hip line. And then from there, he can get his knees in to create space, and then hence get me out from on top. So I'm keeping my head down low intentionally because if I don't, Zenin would most likely get his right arm right into my face, across my neck, and then post off of it to create some space. So that's why I keep my head down. So here's where I mentioned to you, getting that Kimura is quite difficult. Even though I'm two on one-ing his arm, it's still pretty hard. the positioning of your feet when you're mounted on top like this is important to keep your feet tucked in and flat so that it's taking away any space from Zenon from catching your foot with one of his feet to sort of drag it out and create space and escape. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing until the timing is right. And then there you can see I've advanced my position, gotten a bit of a wider base, got a knee up to the point where I'm literally sitting on him at this point. Now here's see where Zenon's starting to post off me, and he does a really good job of creating that space, and boom, he's out. And that's all from a really basic principle of creating space. And then did a perfect job of using that small amount of space that I gave him to leverage it and create even more space. So for those that don't know grappling, here is where the bottom person is what's set to be in guard, or in this case he's got a Z guard and I'm on mount. My job is sort of to pass his guard and to get my legs cleared from his legs. His job is to not allow that to happen. Perhaps to get out of guard. Some people like to be in guard, but get out of guard or advance his position to a more dominant position. Now that wasn't good. He just sort of let me walk right through his guard and step over. I'm not in a big rush to do anything. I've got the dominant position, sitting on his belly, difficult for him to breathe. So really the onus is on the bottom guy at this point to sort of make the next move. It's more advantageous for me to sit there if I need to, if I'm saying resting, catching my breath, which I probably am. But there's no need for me to rush it. Unless, of course, it's a match and there's particular timing and points involved. So you're going to see, I don't think it's this episode, where I'm going to use a modified arm and triangle setup I picked up from Craig Jones. Small detail, using my left leg, the bottom leg, as the initiator that goes around the back of the neck. Normally I don't like to do that. If I'm mounted like this, I usually like to use my right leg and then set up the triangle from the right, using the right leg. But Zenon had really gotten smart to that and had been countering it, so I switched it up and it seems to be working. I didn't use it there. I'm not sure what I did there, but I think in the next episode you'll see me doing it. This one is the one where Zenon counters it pretty good. The weather today, this day, was around 25, I think. So it was just getting mildly cooler than previous episodes. Each day it's sort of getting a little bit cooler as fall is approaching and we're into September now. But one of the things we were talking about was how in the old days it seemed like September was still a month where you had a lot of hot weather, and lately it doesn't seem to be the case. Because as of this video right now, September the 5th, Saturday, September the 5th, it's actually about 21 degrees outside, so it's a little bit cool. So as I mentioned to you before, we're just really fighting for grips and for, what are we going to do? And I did the Toriando there, got past Zenon's guard, and you can see he's posting off my knee, desperately trying to get his inside knee up to create the shield. But I've sort of used the back of my hip butt to sort of prevent that. He's curled up into a turtle to prevent me sort of smashing him flat. But, you know, that sort of presents different opportunities. It's not a bad position for him. It's not a... It's a decent position for me in the sense that I do have a lot of opportunities. As you might see here, is typically what I do is I spin, try to get his back. But in this case, I'm not sure what my left arm is doing. It might be a seatbelt grip. What I'm trying to do is really control Zenin's torso, his top of his body, because from here, one of the escapes that he could be thinking about doing is doing a Granby roll, or just sort of sliding back into guard. But if I control his neck and his torso, that presents basically a big challenge for him. You know, you control someone's neck, you pretty much control the rest of his body. So even here, as you can see, is Zenin is thinking about doing a roll. When I have his neck, it poses a challenge because it just will really tweak your neck, and you don't want to obviously tweak your neck. I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing here. I'm just sort of grabbing it and trying to wear him out and figure out if I can actually get something like a darce or something, or a north-south. I'm not particularly good from this position, so that's why I'm not as natural. And you can see Zenin is more than likely going to actually get out of it, or me just giving up. So here's a super slow transition, basically, where, you know, Zenin is not really doing anything explosive. Neither was I doing anything explosive. I think normally guys are quite explosive when what you just saw. It's a transition. But neither of us were. And so if you're watching this, you know, yes, it can be done a lot better than what you just saw. The reason I'm trying to get my left leg over Zenin's head is to set up a potential north-south triangle, which I haven't gotten a lot of, so my success rate isn't necessarily very high, but nonetheless, it's a maneuver I'd like to keep trying. So here I've taken his back. I'm about to get, I got the one hook in. Zenin does a roll, and you see he's getting his arms underneath my legs to sort of put, and there he goes. He's been really good at that now. Unfortunately, I was able to push back on top, and he was not able to get out in that particular scenario. There, you can see I was using my right leg to try to get that triangle, but Zenin's having none of it. He's gotten too wise to it. The reason my hands, as I may have mentioned in the past, are planted where they are is to prevent him from scooting out, which now I am using my back of my left heel for that same purpose. You can see how Zenin has shifted his body to scoot out to his left direction now. because I had the right covered off, and that's why he was able to do that. So this is a really comfortable place that I like to get to, which is not sure the actual, I mean, it's a seat belt, but I think it's also called a gift wrap, I'm not sure. Where you've got one wrist and then of the opponent, and then you grab your own wrist. As you can see there, it kind of looks like a bread knot, a hair braid, whatever. It basically really secures him to you, so you can sort of chill here at this point and really control his torso. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff you can do from here, but what I personally like to do is just obviously just get my hooks in to get a final back attack. I may not be the most flexible. I think a lot of guys could easily whip that right ankle over like that, but actually secure it, I couldn't do it. Zenon is basically trying to do a really slow motion Granby roll, but you know, my grips on his arms is probably too much for him there. So I do manage to get my hooks in. And I'm gonna roll him back. And there, we're doing fights for body triangles. So Zenon has got my leg trapped. I've got the semi. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the triangle body lock and then get my left ankle behind his left knee. But Zenon knows that and he's been blocking it. So it didn't quite work. I think at this point he's turning around into me. He effectively got out of it, I think. Or actually, no, I think it was because I let go because we were going off the mat. This is more like where we were at. Well, I didn't bother. Full guard. My arms are pretty burnt out at this point. That's why you just saw me drop them. My wife often complains that at the dinner table I'll drop my hands and they'll hit the table like a thud, and I always thought, like, what? Yeah, why do I do that? And the only explanation I can come up with was that my arms are relatively large and heavy, and so they're a lot to sort of carry on, and so when I release them, they do fall like a ton of bricks. Zenon he was just mentioning to me, picked this up from Freddie, one of the guys at the gym, where he inserts that knee right in the crotch to get from it within guard, and it's an effective way to break guard for obvious reasons. So we haven't really talked about this, of why we're doing no gi. Zenon was really more the guy who wanted the no gi. I was indifferent. I always actually bring my gi, but I agreed to do no gi, and I think that was the right move considering how hot it had been. It allows, I think it gives more of a even playing field between the two of us. It takes away the friction of gis and the gripping of gis and manipulating someone using the gi. No gi breaks free of that, and if you're sort of smaller and fast, you can definitely use that to your advantage. But I've enjoyed it. I can't say I'm normally a big no gi guy, but these few weeks that I've been rolling with Zenon have been really fun no gi actually. So now it's Zenon's turn. He's got the same grip on me as I had on him prior. Now the only thing is, See there, he was way too high up, and I used that to throw him off me. Now, I'm not completely in the clear, but he's actually got me in a crucifix, and is effectively going to do an armbar on me. So I tapped out right there. Okay. Again, we're doing some grip fighting here, neck control. So we're both in combat position. The reason for that is it allows you to push off the rear foot to advance your position if you need to. But at the same time, if you needed to, you could sit back on your butt and say, get your hooks in and whatnot, as I'm doing right there. So you've got options. You can see Zenon is trying to stuff my right foot in, and I don't want that to happen. One of the things, so you just saw there 5 seconds ago, I accidentally hit Zenon when two guys are a little bit too rambunctious, eager, should I say. You can end up injuring the other individual because just due to the nature of the speed that you're moving at. We're not doing that as much, so I did hit him at that point. That was one of the few times I did sort of try to do something relatively fast. But in the most part, you know, that scramble you just saw a second ago, you know, neither of us were going at top speeds. So if you're sort of a veteran in the sport, you can sort of see that and might wonder, like, hey, why are you guys so slow? Like, there's so much opportunity there. But you know, really, we're not going at 110% here. We're going more like at an easy 80-90 clip. So you might be wondering, what exactly is the person in guard? What is his objective? What is the objective of the person not in guard? You know, for the guy at the bottom who's putting the guy on top in guard, he's got quite a few options there. He tried to go an arm triangle, or sorry, a triangle there, but it failed. But once he releases those legs around my back, game is on, and you've got to get moving. Until that happens, this is a fairly neutral position from a grappling perspective. Obviously, in MMA, you can still land shots just like that. I would be able to land a shot. More than likely, in an MMA situation, the bottom guy at the bottom at this point would probably kick me away with his feet. Right, something like that, but he obviously didn't. Zenon's got a De La Riva, but he didn't elect to do anything from the De La Riva. Zenon is just sort of managing my guard pass, and I'm not particularly going fast at it. And I am successful at getting past his guard. We are just past the halfway mark, 40 minutes in, another 30 minutes to go. at least unedited. By the time you see this, it's not going to be an hour and 10. It'll probably be shortened to less than 1 hour. I've got Zenon's left arm pretty deep in at this point, and yeah, he didn't have a chance. I got the arm in triangle with the knee on belly impaler as insurance. See, what I'm doing there is, as Zenon keeps trying to pass my guard, I'm posting off of his knees, off of his hips, whatever I can, in order to prevent him from passing my guard. I'm constantly repummeling. What's it's called is repummeling, meaning your leg, your outer, or one of your inner leg actually comes back in to re-engage your opponent to prevent him from passing your guard. So that has many advantages, most basic of which is just straight up blockage, but you can also use it to spin to an inverter or whatever the case may be. So I got an underhook, there. So sometimes Zen gives me the underhook, I think because he's setting me up to knowing that I'm going to come in for my hooks, butterfly hooks, and then he sort of counteracts them with sort of like a double leg grab. In that case, it didn't work. I got the hooks in the underhook, and I managed to do a sweep. So that's one of the things that I've been working on during quarantine, is working on those muscle groups. Here I'm trying to set up a north-south choke again. I think this time I do get it. Not entirely because I did it right, but just that it was painful enough for Zenon to tap out. Like I said in the past, I'm not particularly good at the north-south, but here I'm trying to figure it out. And effectively, I've never understood it, by the way, with the mechanics of the north-south, of why the tap works. Every time I've seen it, it just looks magical. Like here we're talking about it, but it always just looks magical. Like the individual on top doesn't appear to be doing anything, and yet gets the tap. So I've never quite understood it. And quite honestly, a lot of the guys who are making those YouTube videos don't do a good job of explaining what exactly are the mechanics happening. So here we're working out what's actually happening, and Zenon was explaining to me when I'm got the choke on him. What he was saying was his shoulder, and I said it's not really his shoulder. What's pressuring me here is his actually bicep. It's both his forearm on the back of my neck, and then his bicep across my carotid artery, not his shoulder. He was saying it's shoulder. It's not actually. Oh, sorry, he was saying armpit, but you know, armpits don't tap people out. I don't think, not any time I've seen it, but it was actually his forearm coming down across my artery. So it's kind of, if you think of it like a nutcracker, same principle. Your other hand is like a gable grip, as I'm showing here, and you just sort of squeeze. So yeah, it's a effective technique from north-south that's nice to have in your arsenal in case you find yourself in that position, because otherwise there's the Dars, Anaconda, and things like that. I was just wiped out today. I went to bed at 2, woke up at 8, got out the door by 8:30 for a 9 o'clock roll on the beach. And then we went for dim sum later in the afternoon, and boy, I was just wiped and compounded with dim sum crash. So yeah, my energy's a little bit low today. As you can see there, we're both still fighting for underhooks and neck control. Very standard and typical. There. See, Zenon does a really good job of like double leg smashing. I don't know what the name is, but what you saw there is I was able to keep him off me by shucking him, essentially. And here he's doing an interesting climbing up approach to my underhooks, my arm underhooks. For a no-gi situation, there's not a whole lot you can grab onto. It's pretty tough holding onto people's wrists, but getting an underhook like that across his clavicle, or what do you call it, shoulder blade, with a bit of help from the friction of the t-shirt, definitely helps. Here I switched over to the north-south. He got out, neck control. There was a failed butterfly attempt. Very poorly executed. Make sure you hit like and subscribe, share, and if you like the content, join the OracleTribe, link below. Get additional content when you do that. You get to be part of the group, and you get your dashboard at some point. Your dashboard with BetaHub, our online coaching tool, which at some point we'll be implementing across our OracleTribe members. If there's things that you want questions addressed, your performance monitored through video uploads, that's something that we'll be looking at in the future, and that's all made possible through the software called BetaHub that allows you to coach effectively and help improve your students' performance. So yeah, hit the like button and subscribe and join our tribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video.